Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of the Everyday Chins. It's your boy Captain. It's your boy Cleo. And today we have a special guest. We are at Mancosa itself, and we have a very special guest here. She is one person who flew all the way from Cape Town to come and educate the entrepreneurs here. And I will let Clayton feed a little bit more into her CV. But her name is Megan.
Thank you.
Mrs. Megan Tears. Like in the beginning, when I spoke to Megan about this, I said to her, no, I'll just go and read your LinkedIn bio. And if you go to the LinkedIn bio, it looks like a movie credit. It's just like, I meant to message her like, when do you sleep? Because there was so much to go through. I mean, a creative that comes from the marine field.
Marine research, yes.
So, Megan, I just wanted to know what are your business interests and what type of coaching do you do? Because that's the main function that Megan is in here. She's part of the Ignite program run by Mancosa and Explore Protect, where I've got selected out of the countrywide to be one of the igniters, as we call ourselves.
That in there?
Let me know. So Megan is our week one coach.
Right.
And I don't know if you won't see Tando behind the scenes, but he's also one of the igniters, and you probably will agree and attest that today was special. Awesome. It was really special. Awesome. So Megan, without any further ado, we'd like to know more about you. Like, what are your business interests and what type of business coaching do you do?
Okay. Thank you very much, James. Firstly, for the opportunity. Love being here with you. My business is a multi-passionates business. That's why the LinkedIn looks like it looks. It started off in 2020 just being copywriting, content creation.
Yeah.
And I write for tech and creative industries. So that already was quite a bit happening. But the way my brain works, I'm always trying to see what comes before and after, and how can I supplement what I'm doing in the way that things can actually just develop better in my space and the people around me.
Yeah.
So I started just studying a little more about UX design and a bit of design, and just getting a little more along the creative side to flourish a little bit. And I've added English literacy tuition, because literacy for youth is a big thing in my world. I'm busy putting together academy in that space as well. But I started coaching because I've always had this thing about mentoring people and being able to impart knowledge and help people to become learners and perpetual learners. So for me, it's always been a thing about I need to get into the coaching space on some level. So I've been doing it for a while, but I'm busy formalizing passion and purpose coaching at this point in time. That's where I'm at.
You also mentioned something during the lesson today, where you said you, as skilled as you are, you still have a coach. It reminds me of like with football players. Yes. The best football players still need to be coached and directed.
Absolutely.
What I would like to ask you is, what did you see in this group today that differentiates them from last year's group?
Wow. You know, there's one big thing that firstly sets the group apart. I think this group is a little further along, a lot of them, of the journey of entrepreneurship. So they've been conceptualizing for a while, or they've been building for a while already. Some of them have established businesses that they're looking to scale, right? Last year we had a lot more aspiring and fledglings in the group, right? So the thinking processes are different, right? But today I just saw inspiration. This sets me alight, because when people start actually participating in the process and you can see the buy-in starting to happen, that's when I get fired up, because now you know you've got the party ready to work.
I want to ask you something. We come from a community that is very, I don't want to insult my community, but like one focus minded. You know, you're either going to go work in a shack or some sort of field that your parents did from apartheid times and stuff like that. So it's interesting to have you on the show first, because, you know, being also colored, doing something completely different. What motivated you to go into this field?
Okay, I never knew I'm going to end up in this field. It was like that's just part of the evolution that happened. I always knew that I was going to be in the education, the training, teaching, education kind of space. And I knew that literacy and my interest areas like entrepreneurship, etc., would be a part of that. I just didn't see it 4 years ago coming together in this way, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's always been about continuous learning and continuous progress. I'm not a person that settles easily. So if I set my mind on something, and when I was I was retrenched in 2020, everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
I was an account manager on the road for a tech auto electrical engineering company at the time, and my husband said everything is shutting down. You know, where are you going to look for a job? Why don't you just start that business you've been wanting to start? Because this is my second business. And I cried for years when I had to shut my business down the first time. And it was circumstantial. But when I had to shut that business down, I cried for years because that was just the space I wanted to be in. And I did go back to corporate, but I never properly took to it.
Yeah.
I always knew that that's where I want to go eventually. So entrepreneurship just called me back.
I've had that same experience where, like, the business, the trajectory of when we looked at it was going up.
Yes.
And I think I spoke to you last week and I said one of the problems I had is that I didn't forecast enough.
Right.
Once you forecast, then you know you need to allocate certain things to certain places for it to grow again. And I felt that heartbreak. It's like your baby. You like
absolutely. And you know what? I think for me the biggest thing was that I stepped into that because I had a bad experience in corporate. So I was let go without reason. One of those, right? But one of those where you get up for work and you don't have a job, right? But it was a learning curve, and it just showed me what I'm made of at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So long story short around that, that was what needed to happen to get me out of that comfort zone of being in corporate and just like following the trend. And then when I had the opportunity to do it, it's like a hobby that just turned into a business, and within 2 years it went national. And I'm like, okay.
Tell us more about it. What was the business?
The business was candle making. So I had a little candle making workshop on my premises in my backyard. And it came from a hobby where somebody just taught me how to do all of these things. And the next thing, people started seeing what I was making in my house and whatever. And I ended up doing Decorex 1 year. How cool is that?
Scented candles like this.
Scented candles. And I think what was nice about it is you can get so creative with candles. Yeah. You can do anything. It's as long as you've got time to experiment, you can just do anything. Yes. So that was really cool. It was just like my place.
I want to ask you, because I know you spoke about, just being changed automatically all of a sudden. Fortunately, you had a husband who was there to support and, to motivate you to start a business that you've always been thinking of. But how important is, people come to these sessions and they want to get information about how to be good entrepreneurs and how to start their business. But I'm wondering, in an experience like that, how important is mental health and, prioritizing mental health when it comes to that, to face unforeseen circumstances like that?
It's everything. There is nothing above that in terms of how you cope with the situation, how you respond and react to the situation. Yeah. I think it's really important that message comes across, because part of what I spoke to you guys about today, Clayton, was the fact that you are the heart of your business.
Yeah.
And I had an experience last year, diagnosed with cancer at the end of last year, which took me out of my business for close to 7 months. Right? And then you step back into it and you take nothing for granted. Done.
So that's where the aspect of resilience comes from.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that will be one of the big things you say to all your people you're mentoring, especially us. Because that was the word resilience. Yeah, it was a buzzword last week because Peter kept mentioning it. He says, this is what I see in the group. So I know you'll give any entrepreneur, any aspiring entrepreneur that point.
Yes.
But what other pointers would you give a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
Number one, follow that passion. What is the point? Some people say, I want to do it for money. It honestly isn't in everything, right? The money. Yes, we need to live, but there's a totally different viewpoint on that.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the whole money thing, just doing it for money. Passion, have it there. Be yourself, be authentic, because that's the only way you're going to successfully grow something and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the best of both lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then also just as hard as it is to get this in, as a solopreneur especially, you absolutely do not have to do everything alone. There are creative ways, and my business is proof of that. I had zilch when I started my business, and I used energy exchanges, so people that I needed in my business and that I could offer my services
And
to,
also swap
and
of
we swapped
skills.
services,
Yeah.
and there was no monetary exchange for a long time until both of us could afford it, and I still work with those people today. So it's important to figure that out.
From the course today, it seems like you've got a vast network of people. There's a person during the course, you realize there's a person for everything.
There absolutely is, and it is a lovely place to be in, where you're looking at people every day. You're meeting new people, and you're looking at that person and going, "Could you be a potential collab partner? What can I learn about you today that's going to make us gel?"
I also saw, and something that was actually good to see, because normally with like coaches or teachers, like they feel like individuals. But looking at you guys, Marlon, Mr. Levy, there's such a synergy amongst you.
Yeah.
So what's the experience like developing this program with your fellow coaches?
Awesome. It's awesome, because just like some of the feedback I got today from you guys, the group, it's like, wow, we can't believe we in this caliber of people's space. That's how I feel about my coaching group and the Explore Project group that put this together with the Mancosa team. And I've been there since 2021, and it just never gets old, because I think the synergy is so good, because the values aspect of it is in place. The community values.
Yeah, like as Peter was saying last week, or you said it in the group, like unity is community.
Absolutely.
Absolutely love that. Like it was constantly playing in my head. This is another question for more entrepreneurs. Like, what can't they prepare for as an entrepreneur?
Every day, typically.
That's it. Every day is
different. You know what? You don't have a clue every day when you wake up and go to your office what to expect.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you are a solopreneur and you like wearing all the hats and you're doing all the things and you need to learn all the new stuff as you go along. You have no idea.
You know, I ran a cleaning business, and I was speaking about the contamination things I used to do.
Right.
And when it came to COVID, I was fortunate because I was qualified. I could sign off on clean, on a site is clean, right? So everybody needed that certificate.
Right.
But the problem is I did everything on my own.
Okay.
Like I would work night shift, get up, sleep maybe for 2 hours. I need to go buy stock. I need to try to find some food.
Right.
Then I'm running to a site. It was absolutely hectic, and it got to a point where I burnt out. Like I looked at myself and I'm like, I can't. Back to that of mental health and burnout. How have you, since you've rediscovered your entrepreneurial edge, how have you countered that, I should say?
I think the important thing for me has been just finding that happy space, so finding that ability to play at work and enjoy what you're doing, because like they say, it's not work when you're enjoying and you're passionate about what you're doing, but it also just giving yourself the grace to actually, there are days that you just can't pull the shift that you want to pull, and it's okay. The boss is not going to hit you because you're the boss. So you can decide if you want to go there or not. But I think it's about remembering that you have stepped out of that framework of corporate and like strictly living by that book and just going, I can change things up. If I take time off today, I can work it in tomorrow.
So it'll become more, shifted more from time focus to more task focus.
Definitely.
Because there's no one sitting
exactly.
on
But also I think it's also just about outcomes. You know, it's about what do I want to achieve this week or this month, rather than every day from 8 till 5, your schedule is chock-a-block. And it just becomes a useless piece of paper that you've put together and nothing really comes off.
Yeah, and I think also balancing just life is important. You know, make time for family. I know people want to achieve a certain goal and stuff, but then you get burnt out because you're not considering that family is actually what recharges you.
Yeah.
And on that note, I just want to ask a question, because I know you spoke a lot about getting to this point of where you are now. But for people who want to become entrepreneurs, there's this myth. I don't know if it's myth. You can tell me if it's myth or misconception, right? That every business you must at least give yourself 3 years for it to, get off. Is that myth? And what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about entrepreneurs?
Wow, we're going to be here for a very long time. I'm not going to go there. But no, absolutely it is so. To start with, it's just a matter of there is so much going on in that space. You cannot possibly imagine where you're going to go next. It all comes together. But myth-wise, for me, being able to find ways to actually, I don't want to say discredit, but actually see people where they are. You know, people will phone you with the impression, I used this example earlier, this is the CEO of whatever marketing company, I'd like a quotation for your company. And you stress because you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is a bona fide, well-established company.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's a guy that set up a business on his phone. He's aspiring to the CEO position. Well, he might be because he's registered the company and he's the CEO, but he's not even taking over a penny yet. Right? And here you are being intimidated because, oh, wow, he's telling me he's the CEO of an agency. Meanwhile, the agency's not even got
premises.
Nothing. So for me, that was one of the biggest things to learn, was the fact that I don't have to, even when people are the CEO of this well-established company, at the end of the day, connect with the person. That's all we are. Connect with the person and take the relations from there if you see it going forward. But I think that was one of the biggest wows for me. It was just like, no, everybody doesn't step into a business today and next year they are rolling in it and can retire early. It takes 2 to 3 years for most business to even like hit the green.
Yeah.
To start making enough money to say, I can sustain myself as a business. And then you still have to make sure that the owner is being paid as part of that, going into the green, a decent market-related salary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen for at least the first few years.
Yeah. We did mention like how the group is, there's a resilience amongst entrepreneurs. But what's your overall take on the entrepreneurial space in South Africa?
I'm very excited for it. I think we are some of the most creative people. It's just give us the opportunity to prove this in a circumstance where we are allowed to just step out and do, right? We've got so many things bogging us down in South Africa that just, we could have been so much further ahead as far as entrepreneurs and the actual industry itself. I'm very excited for it because I think a lot of more people are opening to the aspect of becoming entrepreneurs, and they're seeing the realistic nature of the step across. It's not such a big.
I think too, we've always had this thing that like if you're an entrepreneur, it's big corporate. So people get a little bit afraid. Don't realize that you can start from anywhere.
You can make it as big or small as you want. You can make it as complicated or simple as you want. You know, that's why I said to you in the class earlier, the guys, it's about you knowing what you want, where you're going, and what works for you and what doesn't. And that's how you build your business, because that's the only way you're going to be comfortable in this space. And that's I think the important thing too.
I liked one of the things you said where you've been true to yourself. That was something that that hit home with me, because when I don't know who I was speaking to, I think I was speaking to my friend in the week, and I said, you know what? When there's a prospective client, you tend to change yourself now just to seal that deal. And in retrospect, when I look at it, it's detrimental.
It's just hard work.
It's hard work. And we were talking off air about how putting this facade on, it's kind of like acting.
Yes.
And with an actor, they can only do one movie a year.
Exactly.
Yes.
And like, which one to pull out?
Honestly, I don't need a good memory because I'm not a liar.
Yeah. It's a good thing I'm not a liar, because there's no memory to talk about. These tabs are full.
Ash, I wish you could have been in the class today.
Maybe next year.
There we go. Pull in his application.
There's a saying that I've heard, I think it was once or twice, where it says, every time you turn a page of a book, you discover something new about yourself. So I wanted to ask you, what would be like maybe your 2 or 3 must reads, whether it's got to do with business or inspirational?
Let me guess. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Not quite. No, look, I am a word nerd. I'm a bookworm.
Yeah.
Any book is a good read. I don't care what it is. I'm the literacy tutor that tells parents, if your child will only read comics, I'm good with that. So for me, a book read is a battle one.
Yeah.
I read different because I write for tech. I'm in the creative industry, and because I also read for just relaxation, right? So I'm reading nonsense novels and everything else. One book has made a huge impression on my life, and I read it at high school, and I must have read the book about 4 or 5 times already, because that's what I do. If I like something, I just go back to it. It's called The Power of One, and it's a book by Bryce Courtenay, South African. Other than that, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I read Atomic Habits 12 times. Because, those are the go-tos for entrepreneurs, and most people understand the value of it once they've been through it.
Yeah.
My thing is identify the space that you need to work on.
Yeah.
And go find a book in that space.
Like a few years ago, when I decided that I'm going to drink and stuff, so I had to do some introspection. And I remember Reese used to always tell me, listen, you need to read more. So I found this book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy.
Yes.
Book changed my life. That book, like, sometimes I just want to tell people about certain parts in the book and stuff.
Right.
But there's another book that, personally, since you're running the youth program, this book made me discover things about myself and gave me a lot of introspection. And I still advocate for it. That I believe every high school student should read it. It's Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist.
Okay. Yes. The Alchemist. Look, if I could take a screenshot of what's written on my shopping list at home, right on top, The Alchemist. Because my daughter's now turning 16.
Yeah.
And, you sort of try and judge when the right time is to slip thinking into this space.
Yeah.
And I think it's that time. So for our next library visit, I put The Alchemist on top there because it was a brilliant book. And it's something you can go back to every time. So it's sitting there, waiting to be used.
I remember when I turned the last page and read like the last sentence, I went super colored. I just looked at the book and went, yes!
Is it done already?
Yes. I was borrowing everybody that book. I'm like, listen, if you're struggling with self-image, self-love, whatever, you just need to read this book.
Now, let's finish up with the last question, because our guy here is just telling us that the time is up. Do you have a last question?
Yes. It's actually written lastly.
Okay, here goes.
Megan, what would be your one piece of life advice for anybody?
Can I squeeze 2 into 1, may I?
Yes, you may.
So I mentioned one a bit earlier to you guys, stand for something or you'll fall for anything. That's been a guiding principle for me. And it's just about knowing who you are under any circumstance and knowing that you can back yourself in any circumstance, like whatever you're going through. And then the other thing that I would absolutely say is passion changing. changes everything. That is one of my sayings and my hashtags that I've developed over this time period, because that is what makes me tick, that passion space. So passion changes everything. And I think if you look at those two, just knowing where you come from, who you are, and being grounded in that, and knowing what you're working towards, can't lose your way.
Oh,
love that.
Well, thank you so much, Megan, for being on the show. We really appreciate you making the time for our viewers and just to educate us. Guys, this is the first episode of a different series that we're planning to do for you guys. So if you enjoyed this one, please make sure that you like. Please make sure that you subscribe to the Everyday Gens podcast so you can see a lot more of these coming up as well. Until next time, Clayton, Megan, Captain, we out.
right.
Thank you.